fostering positive relationships, whether that means friendships or relationships with a partner, you know, a boyfriend, a girlfriend, or anyone that you generally have in your life. It can even mean family members, but just trying to foster positive relationships, and especially trying to do this while you have chronic pain and chronic illness. I hope you like my sweater or sweatshirt, wherever you're from. Got a nice owl on it. This is one of my favourites. It's very comfy and I love it. I don't know where it's from, but I'll try and find out if you want me to put it in the description for you, because a lot of people like this sweatshirt. It's very cute and I love it. So yeah, so fostering healthy relationships. So I'm going to kind of give you a little brief history of my own relationships with people, and then I'm going to talk about how you can go about fostering your own positive relationships with people. So for me, I have not really had the best track record with positive relationships, especially not ones that have been long term. Now, there was a period of time where it made me think that there was something wrong with me, but that wasn't the case. It was just non-compatibility with people, just wrong place, wrong time. It was just kind of how things panned out. So, as I kind of mentioned in the previous video, I was kind of bullied when I was 16, so from school I didn't really take any of those friends on with me anywhere else. So as I went through life, I kind of picked up a few friends when I did kind of courses, or I picked up a few friends in jobs, and they kind of lasted for periods of time, and then a lot of them kind of petered out because a lot of the time people stop bothering. And I think a lot of people can relate to that in general with friends. It can, you know, if you don't both maintain the relationship, it can peter out, and you know, you can't, as much as you might like to maintain a relationship with someone, you can't ever maintain something if it's going to be one-sided, and you can't force someone to want to keep up a relationship with you, whether it's friendship or otherwise. So I've had a lot of kind of fluctuating ups and downs with having friends and not having friends, and I've kind of had friends from jobs. So a lot of my friends have always been kind of short-term friends, and there's been a lot of friends that have kind of come and gone throughout my life. You know, I think there's been one or two that I kind of drifted from, and a lot of them just kind of stopped making any kind of effort. There wasn't any kind of real disagreement or anything like that. It just kind of went a bit quiet. So when I was about 21, I started going online to try and meet people. Now, at the time I didn't have a chronic illness, but this is a really good way for people who are suffering with a chronic illness to meet people. I have recently started kind of looking into getting pen pals and that kind of thing on Tumblr, because that is also another great way to connect with people. But this website that I used was called, and I still use it to this day, it's called New Friends for You, and I always found that helpful. Unfortunately, it has like a £25 a month fee, which I haven't been able to keep up now, so I don't really use that one very much anymore, because, you know, but when I was really serious about making friends, I used to pay the money for it, and when I did have money, I used to pay the money because I wanted to meet more people and connect with more people. I've also been on websites such as City Socialising, and I've also really liked the website Girlfriend Social. Now, I don't know whether in different countries they might have different kind of websites for socialising, but these are the ones that I've found to be the best. I've also found Interpals quite good for kind of connecting people on a kind of pen pal level. But as I said, it's all about maintenance and whether it's being maintained from both sides. There are periods of times where I've been unable to maintain my side of the relationship for illness or mental health reasons or for whatever, and then there have been times when they have petered out. So, you know, you need to not beat yourself up and just try and do your best to foster as positive relationships as you possibly can. Like I said, for me, there's been a lot of fluctuation in my relationships, and there's been a lot of kind of sporadicness of friends from one job, and then because my job history has been a bit kind of up and down as well, there was kind of friends from here who I'd be friends with for a couple of years, and then that would kind of peter out, and then I'd have other people that I was friends with for 6 months, a year, a couple of years, and then they would kind of peter out. So realistically, I never had very many true, sturdy, lifelong friends that were there for me through thick and thin, that, you know, I was 100% their priority. And there may be times when I have had kind of stronger people in my life, and for whatever reason we've fallen out, or, you know, we've had a disagreement, or we've been at bad places in our lives at that time, and it's just not worked out, which is sad. And I'm not the kind of person, personally, who ever holds a grudge against someone else, but you just need to kind of be aware about, regardless of whether you forgive someone or whether they forgive you, or whether you kind of let a situation go, you still need to be aware of whether it's to the point of you want to get back in touch, you want that person back in your life, or you just want to be civil and, you know, be okay to not be friends. Because there's people that for example, one of my closest friends now, we were friends when we were like 21. I actually met her through the New Friends for You website years and years and years ago, and we were friends for a good period of time. And then for whatever reason, we went through a period where it all went a bit quiet, and the friendship kind of petered out. And then she went to Australia for a year with her other half, who's now her husband and also a very good friend of mine. And while they were away, her husband kind of saw that I'd become a vegetarian, and that I just kind of saw some things that she was posting on her Facebook. I was like, oh, I hadn't spoken to her in a while, and we kind of had this other thing in common. So I just kind of messaged her. I was like, oh, how are you? How's Australia going? Etc, etc. And now we are very close friends again. So we reconnected through that, and we've been close friends again ever since. So, you know, that was someone who was obviously meant to be in my life, and it just went quiet for a while. And you will have people like that throughout your life. You might have them go out of your life for a period of time, and then they'll come back into it. But that happens if someone's meant to. Don't ever try to force a friendship or try and force yourself with someone. Just try and, you know, keep lines of communication open, but know when someone is a toxic person, and someone is a person that you don't need to have in your life. If you have people that are bringing down your self-esteem, making you feel negatively about yourself, putting you after other people, showing you up in front of other people, those are definitely the kinds of people that you don't want in your life. Now, like I said, especially when you're chronically ill, meeting people online is a great way to meet them. I would say probably Girlfriend Social is one of the best places to meet them, because I think you have to pay a very, very small fee for that website, but it is literally like a tiny, tiny fee, and it is a really great website. I think it's under construction at the moment, but it's a really, really great website for meeting people. Also, I found I haven't really made friends this way, but it is good to connect with people over things such as Tumblr. If you want to kind of meet pen pals or those kind of things, you can meet those kind of people through Tumblr as well. But like I said, Interpals is also a very good place to meet pen pals and connect with people. But realistically, as much as I made this friend years and years ago, and I reconnected with her because I met her on this website, I've kind of found over the time that I used to kind of try and force things too much, and I used to be too obsessed with meeting people and connecting with people and trying to draw out these friendships, because I've never really had that many solid friendships in my life, that it got to the point that I was obsessed with it, that I used to be constantly on these websites talking to all these people, and very few of them seemed to work out because they weren't really going anywhere, we weren't really having a proper connection, and they were just kind of petering out. So one of my closest and one of my best friends now, who I met in 2012 when I started doing a psychology degree, which I do at the Open University. I met her at my first ever tutorial, and we always joke about this, that she dropped her glove as we were leaving. I remember sitting in the class and seeing her and thinking, oh, she's really cool. She's got like a nose piercing, and she had short hair at the time, and I was like, she really seems like my kind of person, because I kind of consider myself a bit of an alternative kind of person. I know I don't really look like it at the moment, but you know, the kind of person that likes coloured hair and piercings and tattoos and that kind of thing. And so she was the kind of person I was drawn to straight away, of like, yeah, she's my kind of person. So as she was walking out, she dropped this glove, I picked it up and just kind of said, oh, you know, where are you from, blah, blah, blah. They've been talking about study buddies in the class. I was like, oh, maybe we could, you know, meet up, study together. So we met up a couple of times and studied together, and now we are like the best of friends. We are so close. We see each other all the time. We are literally like this. You know, we've supported each other through so much kind of emotional stuff and through health stuff and stuff like that. She's a person who actually suffers with fibromyalgia, so she's been great for me and kind of supporting me through my health journey and having kind of an undiagnosed condition. So, you know, she is like a really good friend that I made, and I think that it was great because we met through a common interest. So I think that is another one of the best ways to make friends, is to just do something you enjoy. And this can even be for, you know, a relationship. Do something you enjoy. I know it's a bit cliche, but do something you enjoy, and then, you know, those kind of things will come more organically and come naturally. Like I said in the past, I've met people through jobs. I wouldn't really recommend meeting people through work. You can, and you know, there are maybe circumstances where it works out, but realistically I think the relationship that you foster with people in a work environment is much more of a superficial relationship, and you've kind of got your work face on, and you're doing it within a work environment, and you're seeing these people and having these conversations with people, but no effort has to be put in because you have to come here to earn your money and be in this room with this person. So obviously you're going to form some kind of alliance with them, but that doesn't mean they're actually your true friends, and they're the kind of person you could call up if you know, your boyfriend dumped you or your girlfriend dumped you or you were stranded somewhere. I think you need to just try and be aware of people who you truly connect with and people that really understand you and things, people you really have things in common with, to people that, you know, are just acquaintances and are just fine when, you know, you need someone and no one else is there and you want to go to lunch with someone, those kind of people. Also in a kind of a relationship capacity, it's always good to meet people through friends of friends. Now, I've had times in the past where I've done this and it's blown up in my face and it really hasn't worked out for me, and there's been a point in the past where I feel it may have impacted negatively one of my friendships with someone I'm no longer really connected with. We've kind of come to some kind of, you know, civil level now where we kind of interact with people now and with each other now and then, but realistically we're not really friends anymore. And that may have been to do with, you know, my past interactions with one of their friends, you know, and that's fine, you know, that's neither here nor there. But, you know, friends of friends can be good, or, you know, family friends or people that you know through people that you know are good people. That can be a good way or it can be a negative way. I think it's something that you need to weigh out the pros and cons of, and, you know, there's always going to be risk in life, and it's whether you take the risk and whether you feel that it's a kind of calculated risk and it's worth going for it. My boyfriend, who I've been with for 5 years in September, he is my stepbrother's best friend. So I'd known him kind of in the background for about 10 years, and then my stepbrother had a uni party and me and him kind of really hit it off, and then we were kind of friends for about a year, and then he kind of pursued me a little bit. He kind of really wanted to kind of be in a relationship with me, and I hadn't been that long out of kind of relationship with someone, even though it was quite a short-term relationship. I hadn't been that long out of a relationship with someone, so I didn't really know, and I didn't really want to feel like I was falling into a relationship because, you know, I wanted to be loved or something like that. So, you know, in the end I did end up kind of dating him, and at the start I don't know, I feel like I had quite a lot of negativity put into my mind, and there was kind of a bit of doubt in my mind of whether this was the right thing to do, because he was so connected to my family and I hadn't that long been out of a relationship, and I kind of was like, you know, rolling it around in my brain for quite a while. And, you know, to say that every relationship is going to be smooth sailing is not true, but you know, for 90+% of my relationship with him, it has been, you know, fantastic, and it's been amazing. Obviously everyone has tiffs, everyone has fallouts, everyone has things that they need to work on with each other over time, or, you know, things that might bother the other person that you kind of compromise a bit on, or you kind of work around as time goes on, that, you know, certain habits that people might have and things like that. But he is like, trying to get upset, but he and my close friends have been an amazing support to me through being chronically ill and being, you know, kind of dealing with mental health issues. And they have, you know, my boyfriend has been amazing. There's been a lot of kind of things that I haven't been able to do, or a lot of things have changed since I've had illness ongoing, and it's obviously been in a very intimate area, and it's kind of affected my mobility, and it's affected my functioning of certain parts of my body. And he has just been so amazing. He is like the most perpetually happy person I know. He is very laid back, he's very supportive. He, you know, obviously there've been times where we've obviously had crossed wires, or times when, you know, we may have upset each other, but for them, you know, he has been very supportive to me, and he's always kind of backing me, and he's always supportive of me. Like, our communication over our relationship has got so much better, and especially like in the last year, I'd say, and especially with me going through chronic illness and us living together, I feel like it's just made us stronger and stronger. I moved in with him about 6 months after we started dating, and that was another thing that people thought would be a complete downfall. Realistically, it has really made our relationship stronger. Me going through these struggles has made our relationship stronger. We communicate so much better. We're so kind of solid that he 100% has my back. I know that he does. He, you know, I just kind of explain to him how I feel, or I tell him what I'm going through, or how things have been, you know, and he doesn't get my back about, you know, kind of housework and stuff like that. Whereas there may have been times in the past where he may have done these kind of things. He, you know, so very understanding, and he's so easy to talk to, and he just, you know, he's very thoughtful. He looks out for me, and he'll, like, you know, like buy me little presents or stuff like that to cheer me up and things like that. He, you know, when I first started having my gynae problems and hip problems about a year and a half ago, like, the first thing he did was when I bought me like this hip support pillow, which has been like the best thing that I've had since being ill. And he just always kind of checks in how I am, or he always kind of gives me a cuddle, or that kind of stuff. And I think those kind of things are like the keys to a positive relationship, fostering a positive relationship. Like, especially with a partner, you need someone who you can communicate with. You know, that may need to be worked on over time, but realistically, if you can't communicate with someone, you can't get your feelings out, they can't get their feelings out. You can't ever be on the same page about life if you can't communicate with someone. So that is one key thing that you need to have in fostering positive relationships. Whether it's a friend, whether it's a partner, whether it's a family member, communication is the thing that is going to make a relationship strong. And there may be times where you feel like you don't want to open up to someone, and you don't want to get close to someone, but sometimes giving people a little bit, you know, a little bit of yourself can work out alright. It can work out well, because when you give a little something and you show a bit of vulnerability, it encourages someone else to show a bit of vulnerability. And I found that that has worked in me kind of fostering more positive relationships with people. Like I was trying to say before my battery died, hopefully I'm back in the same position now, that even with relationships with family members, communication is a key element. Just because they're members of your family, you shouldn't let them get away with certain things. You should be able to communicate on a good level with the members of people in your family. And even if you have any kind of issues with people in your family, or, you know, don't have that much in common, or you don't always see eye to eye, you need to be able to maintain a level of communication and, you know, be able to communicate in some way. There may be situations, I'm lucky enough not to have this situation, I am very close to my family, and even in times when we haven't seen eye to eye and stuff like that, we have been able to kind of figure it out, and our communication, or my communication and the communication of certain other people within my family, of us with each other is getting better and better over time, because as time goes on, the more you communicate with people and the more you show your vulnerability to each other, the more you feel able to connect with each other, because you feel you have kind of common ground and that you have a better understanding of one another. So you should kind of try that if there's kind of members in your family where you are slightly butting heads with them, or you don't really feel like you have things in common. Try and find something you have in common with them, so you can kind of maybe get a bit deeper with them, find out a bit more about them, maybe show them a little bit of something about yourself, and allow them to kind of open up about themselves. But trying to force someone to show you emotion or to open up to you is never ever going to work. By shaming them and telling them that they're unemotional, they're disengaged, and that they're not showing you enough emotion is never going to work. People show emotion when they feel comfortable. I've always been someone who's very comfortable with emotion, and I wear my heart on my sleeve, but not everyone else is like that. People can be very practical and they cannot really show their emotion on the surface. People may feel uncomfortable to show their emotion. My boyfriend is a very, very affectionate and a very, very supportive person, but he's not the kind of person who is very emotional. So that doesn't have to be a negative thing. And over time he has opened up to me more and shown more of himself, because he's felt comfortable with me and because I've made him feel comfortable. You need to encourage people and allow them to feel that they can be themselves around you, and that they can express themselves if and when they want to, not that they're pressured to show certain emotions or be a certain way in a certain environment, or interact with you in a certain way just because you are more of an emotional and more of an open kind of person. So try, if you want to connect with someone like a family member or someone that you feel like is a bit distant from you, just try and find a common subject for you to talk about, or maybe try and open up a little bit about your own life and about your own kind of physical health or mental health, and they may kind of see it as an opportunity to open up about some of their own vulnerabilities. So I think that's definitely one of the key things that you need to focus on completely, is communication with people. Another thing that is really, really important is support. Surround yourself with people that are supportive, and remove people that are toxic from your life. It doesn't matter if someone is your family member, if they've been your best friend for like 12 years or something, if they a boyfriend you've been with for a long period of time, or a girlfriend, or anyone that you've been with for a long period of time, been in your life for a long period of time, whether it's been a year, whether it's been 10 years, whether they're a family member, whether it's a parent, anything. If those people are toxic to your life, remove them. You can give someone a couple of chances, a handful of chances, but there comes a point where you just have to look after yourself, and that's the key to fostering healthy relationships. Having healthy relationships means also having a healthy relationship with yourself and looking after yourself, because people can be toxic and people can be negative, and it may be because they have a bad relationship with themselves, a bad self-image, but you can only have so much sympathy and so much empathy for someone in that kind of situation. You can't be the carrier of someone else's emotions. You have your own emotions to deal with, your own emotions to regulate, and yourself to worry about. You can only be so much of a support to someone else. But there's a point where you have to take yourself out of a situation and be like, this is toxic for me, this isn't right for me. I need to either take a short period of time away from a person, or you need to take a long period of time away from a person, or you need to completely cut that person out of your life. Regardless of who that person is, listen to your gut and listen to your instinct. You know whether this person's making you happy or whether this person's making you unhappy. I find a lot, especially in relationship scenarios, that women tend to feel like they are not worthy of getting better, that they kind of have their self-esteem knocked away at, and you need to know that you are strong, that you are a beautiful person, that you are a person in your own right, that your feelings are valid, and that you can have the strength to move away from this person. Whether this person is abusive, whether this person is just not a very nice person, whether they're a bit toxic, whether they kind of show you up in public, whatever they do, whatever way they are affecting you negatively, then you need to cut that person out of your life. We need to always look internally and see whether, we can improve ourselves, but cutting toxic people out of your life is a way of self-improvement. It's a way of looking after yourself. Don't ever take on the full-on guilt for someone else's, issues, or don't ever fully take on someone else's emotions. Don't make someone feel bad about themselves and make you feel like you have to be the hub for all their emotions and for all their issues. You have your own life to deal with, your own feelings to deal with. You can support another person, and obviously if you're in a relationship or a friendship, you should be as supportive as possible to the other person, but not at the detriment of yourself. So that's the second thing that I think is really important, is to be a supportive person to other people. And over time, I believe that I've become much more of a less selfish person and much more of a supportive person who thinks about other people's needs and thinks about other people's feelings and how certain things I might say might come across, and those kind of things. Like I said in my body image video, I've kind of tried to not kind of body shame or slut shame or do any of those kind of things to people like I may have done in the past. I try to be a lot more aware of people's feelings. I try to consciously have more contact with people who I care about and people who I'm close to, because I know there are times when I can be bad at that, and there's times when it can come across selfish and like I am kind of wrapped up in myself, and I don't want to kind of give that image over to other people. So that's the second thing that's really important, is to be supportive and to surround yourself with people who are supportive. It doesn't mean, like I said, they have to be exactly the same as you. They may not show emotion in the same way, but you know whether someone is supportive. You know whether you feel confident that someone's got your back, that someone is there for you. And if you don't, regardless of whether in time that proves right or not, if you don't feel comfortable in a situation and you don't feel comfortable that someone is there for you, that someone has got your back and someone is 100% behind you, you need to take yourself out of that situation. Whether it leads to, you realising they were toxic, or realising that you were at a bad point in your life and that you need to kind of deal with that and go through some kind of therapy or something like that to kind of get to a better point within yourself, it's still growth and it's still you moving forward in life and making some positive progress. Another thing that is definitely really, really important is reliability. Now, as a person with chronic illness, you can't always be what is deemed reliable. Now, that does not mean that you are not a good friend. So, reliability doesn't have to mean that you can always show up, because when you're a chronically ill person, there are times where you have to cancel plans at the last minute, and that doesn't mean that you're unreliable. And in these scenarios, people who truly care about you and who are truly there for you are going to understand your pain. They're going to understand what you're going through, and are going to completely be there for you, whether you pull out of plans or not. If you couldn't attend someone's birthday, and okay, it might upset them at first that you can't come out for their birthday because you're dealing with your chronic illness and you're chronically in pain, or you're in hospital, or because of disability and there's not accessibility for whatever reason. If that person really cares about you and you're really close to that person, invite them round to your house and just say, I'm really sorry, I'm having a really bad day, I'm really badly in pain, but hopefully next week or in a couple of weeks, or when I'm feeling better, come round and we'll buy a cake and we'll kind of try and make some kind of dinner together, we'll watch movies, and we'll just celebrate your birthday in a different way. You can always, you can just have them round and find some kind of way to celebrate, do a few of their favourite things that can be done from the comfort of your own home, and things that don't involve a lot of kind of strain or pushing on your chronic pain or your chronic illness. But being reliable doesn't mean that not showing up makes you unreliable and it makes you a bad friend, because when you're chronically in pain and chronically ill, there are going to be a lot of situations where you can't do that, and people who truly love you and truly care about you will understand. And from your side of it, you just have to try and be as reliable as possible, as supportive as possible, keep in contact as much as possible. Just because you don't always see someone, it doesn't mean you can't be a good friend. If you've got a good, strong relationship with someone, you'll communicate with them back and forth, and your relationship will be strong, whether you've seen them 2 days ago, 2 months ago, or 2 years ago. Like my friend who I was mentioning, who had fibromyalgia, there's times where I'll see her several times in a week or within a couple of weeks, and then there's times where we won't see each other for a month or so because we're either busy, or we're really kind of in pain, or we're depressed, or going through low periods of time. That doesn't matter. We still communicate on a very regular basis. We're still very much in each other's lives. We know what's going on in each other's lives. We're emotionally supportive to each other. So being reliable, it's a very, very strong thing within a friendship, but being reliable means being there. Being reliable doesn't mean that you have to show up at every event and always be physically there. It means being as reliable and emotionally reliable and as there when people need you as you can be, and just being as reliable as possible. Another thing that I can think of off the top of my head is being thoughtful. Now, I've had there are people in my life that are more thoughtful than others, and there's time when I can be more thoughtful than other times. There can be times when, obviously, if you're wrapped up in your own mental health problems or your own pain problems and stuff like that, where other people may be the last thing you're thinking about. But I always think things like birthdays are always a good time to make people feel special, because if you kind of put a date in your diary and you can think about it over a period of months. And with kind of online shopping now and things like Amazon, you could order something online and get it sent directly to the person, gift wrapped with a little gift tag on it, and then they know that you're thinking about them, and they know that they're in your thoughts, even if you're not physically with them. They know that they're a special person to you, and that you care enough to have sent them a present. Even if you just when you're having I clicked my knuckles there. If you're having more of a rest day, or even just when you're at home more, you could try and maybe even on a bit of a better day, maybe even just create them a card, or maybe print off some pictures and just stick them on something that they could put on their wall, so they can kind of see you, and just give them a little reminder on their wall, think about your friendship, and just kind of something they can look at every now and then and think, oh, I haven't, say for example it was me, I haven't texted Hayley in a while, I wonder how she's doing, I wonder how she's doing with her illness, her depression, etc. Maybe I'll give her a text, maybe I'll pop round and see her and see if she wants to have a takeaway and watch a movie on Friday night. You just have to, be thoughtful, be reliable, and just do the best you can. Just try, and at times you need to consciously be a good friend, or consciously be a good partner, or consciously keep in contact with your family, because there's times when you may have other things on your mind, and there are times when people can take these things for granted. There are occasions where I'm very close to my mum, and there are occasions where times when I take my mum for granted, because I know she's going to be there, and if I'm having a bad day, or a lot of brain fog or stuff like that, I probably would more consciously think about someone who I need to maintain a relationship more with than think about texting back my mum or having a relationship with my mum, because I speak to her so regularly, and because we are very close, and I know that I can just kind of turn up my mum's house whenever I wanted, I could stay over whenever I wanted. I think it's something that I sometimes maybe take for granted, and I probably should make concessions to try and not do that as much, because she obviously wants to see how I am and cares about my well-being, and I probably at times should maybe respond to her more, or take some time out when I'm feeling better to give her a phone call, or maybe just get her a little something to say thank you or something like that. But it's always good to just be thoughtful, and just, even if you can't be thoughtful all the time, just when something comes into your head, just write it down, or in that second just be like, okay, I'm going to go on Amazon now, and I'm going to order this little gift to say thank you to this person for being really supportive, or to send them for their birthday or something like that. It's always good to try and write things down, or for me, I try and sometimes do things as soon as they pop into my head, because I know in a half an hour or a couple of days that's going to be way gone. It's going to be completely out of my mind. And the final thing that I can think of is when fostering positive relationships is knowing your self-worth and knowing not to settle and not to let, even in people that you have relationships with, there are times when those people are going to be negative, there's times when you're going to have arguments with those people, but you need to know your self-worth, you need to know your own value, you need to know that that somebody else doesn't hold the cards for your life, that you hold the cards for your life and you hold your own self-worth. So like I've said in my video on body image, that you hold the key to your own body image, you hold the key to your own self-worth, so don't let negative self-esteem make you think that you're not worthy of having supportive friends, of having a loving partner, of having family members that respect you, because you are worthy of all of those things. And if you don't have people like that in your life, those people will come. There are periods in my life when I literally had no one apart from, I had my family, but realistically I was only very close to my mum, like very emotionally close to my mum, I felt I could completely be emotionally close to my mum. As much as I was close to my rest of my family and I had them around me, I only really felt emotionally close to my mum. And there was times when me and her fought, when I didn't even feel emotionally close to her, and I felt very isolated and alone. And these are periods of time that we go through in life, but you need to kind of just weigh up the pros and cons of relationships, weigh up whether someone is healthy for your life, whether they bring positivity to your life, whether they meet the kind of criteria that I mentioned, whether you can communicate with them well. And it's something that we need to assess from both sides, whether someone is communicating well with us or whether we are communicating well with some other people, because there have been times when with certain people in my life, where I would hold back a lot more, but I'm trying over time to kind of open up and kind of show my vulnerability, even though it may scare me and I may think that I'm going to get a negative reaction. You only know these things by putting yourself out there and taking the risk to try and show some vulnerability and try and improve communication with other people in your life. Then is the reliability. Always try and be as reliable as you can, but don't let chronic illness make you feel like you're an unreliable or bad person. Just try and be as reliable and present in people's lives as you possibly can be. Try and be thoughtful whenever you can, to appreciate the people you do have in your life, and also just try and look after yourself and care about your own self-care and your own well-being, your own self-worth, because it doesn't matter, as I've said previously, it doesn't matter how long someone's been in your life. You need to value yourself and value yourself as a person, value yourself and what you bring to a relationship. Don't let, even if you make mistakes and you make negative decisions, or something kind of blows up in your face or backfires on you, which has happened to me several times in my life. I've made the wrong decision, I've gone down the wrong path, I've kind of put energy into people that didn't deserve it. It's all a learning curve, it's all a way of growing, it's all a way of learning, it's all a way of becoming more comfortable with yourself and more happy with yourself. I found for me that counselling and therapy has made me grow as a person, as well as I would say that YouTube is actually, and social media has actually helped me grow quite a lot, because I've kind of followed a lot of body positive kind of movements. Like I said, follow people like Kat Black, Megan Tonjes, Just Natasha, Just Between Us, like Gabby Dunn, who else do I follow? Steph Sanyati, ALB in Wonderland, just people that are just kind of body positive, that are very kind of inclusive kind of people, and just people that make you feel good about yourself and good about expressing yourself and being who you are, and just cutting out the noise and pushing positive identity, whatever your identity is, and not listening to all the bullshit of other people. Just being strong and pushing forward. Whether at times that may be on your own, whether that may be in your relationships with others, just know your self-worth and know your value. You should be able to be 100% yourself around people, whoever they may be, whether they're family members, friends, partners. If you ever have to hide any of your identity, that is not a positive relationship. You You shouldn't have to hide who you are. You should be able to value who you are and find strength within that to find people who you truly connect with and people who truly support you and make your life better. So I hope that you've enjoyed this video, guys, and I hope that you've got some kind of benefit from it on how to foster positive relationships with people and foster positive relationships with yourself. If you have any questions that you would like me to address or anything that you'd like me to go over in more detail in a further video, then I'll be happy to do that. Or if you just have any kind of questions that you want me to answer, you can either put them in the comments or you can send them to thechronicminimalist@gmail.com. And you can also follow me on Instagram @thechronicminimalist. And I also have a blog, if you haven't already looked at that, which is thechronicminimalist.wordpress.com. So thanks very much, guys. I hope you subscribe and I look forward to seeing you soon. Bye.